All right, welcome everyone. This is our February 2022 Collaboration Cafe hosted by the Midwest Big Data Innovation Hub. My name is John MacMullen. I'm the Executive Director of the Hub and very happy to be joined today by our guest, Dr. Ann Stapleton from USDA, who will be helping us understand the solicitation that we're looking at today, which is the Data Science for Food and Agriculture solicitation from the USDA NIFA group. So thank you, Ann, for being here, and thanks for others for joining. We have a number of prior awardees from this program who we reached out to, and some of them are able to join us today, but we'll talk about some of those program details in a little bit here. I did want to begin with some background about our organization and what we do, for those who may be new to us. And so feel free to, folks who are on the call live, ask questions at any point, and we'd be happy to address those. So the Midwest Big Data Innovation Hub is part of a network of 4 innovation hubs that National Science Foundation funded several years ago to cover the US based upon census region. And so in the Midwest, we have a 12-state area that we cover in terms of our service area. Really, our overall program goals are to bring together different stakeholders who are interested in data of various kinds across a number of disciplines, as well as sectors, so including government agencies, nonprofits, and industry partners as well. Really trying to build partnerships and collaborations across our region and nationally through our network. We have a number of priority areas that we focus on in the Midwest based upon regional needs and interests. Today we'll be focused on sort of the digital agriculture space, but we have a number of related areas that we are working through on this monthly webinar and looking at solicitations from different agencies that line up with those needs and interests. This series, as I said, is a monthly series that we run, and it really is designed to bring together interested researchers and administrators across the region who are interested in building collaborations to respond to large-scale proposal opportunities from different agencies and other funders, and really trying to build that network of cross-disciplinary interests throughout the region. We also do have an interest on helping early career researchers build their networks and their opportunities to participate in those kinds of activities. I'll talk in a few minutes about our upcoming webinar in March that is really focused on funding opportunities for early career researchers. So we do want to bring those folks into this discussion. We don't expect that pre-tenure folks and other early career people are necessarily going to be leading large-scale proposals, but there may be opportunities for them to participate as a collaborator or a sub-awardee for different opportunities. And so we want to actively engage with folks at that stage of their career and make sure that we're getting them connected into the broader network across the region here. So there are opportunities for lightning talks and other brief presentations of early career researcher activities. And so keep that in mind if you would like to participate in that way going forward as well. We tend to have a lot of R1 institutions in the Midwest region who participate in our activities, but we are much broader than that and are very interested in including predominantly undergrad institutions, community colleges, certainly the tribal college and university system, which is very large in the Midwest region, and other underrepresented and under-resourced institutions to help them build capacity in different ways. And as I said earlier, we're very interested in partnering with other cross-sector partners such as government agencies and civic organizations and industry as well. We have this sort of real-time webinar that we run each month. It is recorded and posted on our YouTube website. And so folks are able to follow up with that after the live session, but we also do have some other resources underlying the activity, including a Slack community, a shared Google Drive that has a variety of documents available to folks, including the lists of prior awardees for each of the solicitations that we look at, so that you can get a sense of what other folks have proposed successfully previously. And so we welcome you to explore those and to join in whatever way makes sense for your situation. We do record the main part of this webinar, as I said prior to the call beginning. But since some of the conversations are early stage in people's thinking, we do not record the discussion portion of the webinar each month. And so we do encourage folks who are watching this video in the future to think about joining in real time so that you can participate in those discussions. I wanted to mention that the Midwest Big Data Innovation Hub does collaborate with folks who are developing proposals in different ways. We function largely as a way to amplify the work that folks are doing across the region, and so helping you develop collaborators and get participants for particular activities, workshops, and other events and things like that. So we're happy to talk with you about unfunded letters of collaboration for your projects, but we are open to funded collaborations as well, subawards and other approaches to working together in different ways. And so happy to speak with anyone about that offline. We are a neutral organization in the region, and so there may be cases where we're providing multiple letters of collaboration or engaging with multiple parties who are responding to the same solicitation, and we want to make sure that that's clear so that we're not creating conflicts of interest. Our activities are all distinct from those kinds of roles in those situations, and so we're happy to talk with you and keep your proposal private from other folks we may be reaching out to. All right, so at this point, I want to turn it over to our guest today, Dr. Ann Stapleton from USDA, to give us a sense of the DSFAS program and the goals of the USDA around that program. And I'll go ahead and change your slides whenever you would like for me to do that, but welcome and thanks for being here today.
It's really a pleasure to see everyone, and thanks so much for the invite. So here I'm going to there's a whole bunch of acronyms on here. NIFA, the National Institute of Food and Agriculture, and the AFRI-FAS, or Foundational and Applied Science, Data Science for Food and Agriculture program. So I'm going to sort of walk through some of these components of this program title and then go into some detail on the priorities. But first, let's step back a little bit further and go up to thinking about the USDA and NIFA. Next slide, please. So artificial intelligence broadly is a federal government-wide priority. Click, please. And we, as a federal agency, have priorities from the executive branch that are customized for the entire USDA, including National Institute of Food and Agriculture, NIFA. And this is under the broad categories of addressing inequality and inequity, to meet the moment on climate and nutrition security and build fairer markets and stronger communities. So next, please. Sort of summarized in a way that's integrated into NIFA programs, we're talking about equity and inclusion. So across programs and with specific programs, climate and regenerative agriculture. These are key priorities. Rural economic revitalization, nutrition security, which encompasses many aspects: nutrition, food system resilience, et cetera, including health in partnership with the National Institutes of Health and other agencies, and open and competitive markets, again, tied into resilient food systems and resilient agricultural systems. So this is our bigger picture priorities across the federal government, across USDA, and these are reflected in our NIFA programs as well. So next. And next. So the specific program we're talking about today is one of the AFRI foundational and applied science programs, and it's now got the not so easy to say acronym of DSFAS. And this is cross-cutting. So there are 6 cross-cutting programs at NIFA. This is one of them. And a cross-cutting program generates new knowledge in 2 areas, NIFA priority areas. So in this case, it's new knowledge in agriculture, any type, and data science or AI broadly. So cross-cutting for NIFA means that it's technology, which is one of our priorities, plus at least one of the other areas listed here. So plant health and production, animal health and production, food safety, nutrition, bioenergy, natural resources and environment, including all climate, ag systems, and ag economics and rural community development. So there's a very broad range of topic areas in agriculture that would qualify for this cross-cutting program. But any proposal that is awarded funds in this program has to be strong in terms of new knowledge development in both the specific agricultural research area and in the data science AI area that is addressed in the proposal. So that's one of the key points and why I think that this is a great fit for this collaboration and networking opportunity, because here we are talking generally about having research strengths in 2 areas that are often not found in the same department, say, in an academic institution. So collaboration is really kind of fundamental to this program. Next slide. And next. All right, so here's just a little bit of detail. And while the program area priority code is important for looking up things at NIFA, and so looking at things that are already funded and also easily searching our documentation and our RFAs. The budget requests have a larger coordination network and a standard grant. There are also seed grants. So these are research projects or integrated projects, so that there's a research component in anything that's funded in this program. Application deadline is next fall. Check for RFA updates. I was hoping we would see the updates by now, but I don't see them yet. Any minute now, any day now, there will be updates to our FY22 RFA. So we do check that. It will be widely disseminated by our communications staff, and I'm sure I'll put John on my list to especially notify when the RFA updates come out. They have been delayed, so our apologies for that, but they will be out shortly. And there you want to double check that any program that you're interested in applying to across all of the AFRI foundational RFAs has the any changes that are made to the priorities, the program rules, anything like that. So these RFA updates could have changes in those areas. Do check for those when they come out. All right, I think that's it. I'd be happy to take questions about the program, or if you want to, maybe first it would be good to hear from some of the folks who have received funding.
Great, thanks very much, Anne. And I will get into a quick rundown of some of the program details in a minute here, but do folks have questions for Anne about the content that she presented? All right, we can circle back to any questions that you all have momentarily here. What we normally do on this call is do a quick rundown of the program elements for the solicitation in question. So Anne has captured some of these already, so I won't go through all the details here, but there you can see there are a number of tracks and project types for this particular program, a couple of different budget sizes and durations depending upon what your focus area is. And there is a letter of intent requirement for conferences and workshop proposals as well. I was a little unclear about the timing of that. I saw 195 days and then I think 135 days. And so I wanted to err on the side of longer rather than shorter. I don't know if you can clarify that, Anne.
Yeah, that's when it gets to us. So we need you to send it to us 195 days before, and then we will correspond with you about any changes that need to be made to make it a complete letter of intent with all the sections. And then the clock starts ticking. So the sooner you can reach out to us, the better. We're happy to work with you in this conference and workshop process and help you figure out the steps that you need to make a successful conference and workshop proposal. We are not, just as a side note, at the moment, we are not funding any travel, both for federal employees or for workshops. So we don't know exactly when that will change.
Great question. I did want to ask about that because the agencies all seem to have different timelines for travel and return to the office kinds of things. So great. All right. So the one reason I wanted to highlight that particular timeline is folks often have thoughts when they're talking with their collaborators, you know, hey, let's have a meeting and let's put a workshop together. And it tends to be short-term timeframes. But if you're looking for funding from this particular program for a workshop, you need to be mindful of that letter of intent sort of runway that you need to have built into that. We have some details about eligibility. This is you know, different from some other federal agencies. There's a lot more folks who are eligible to participate in this, including industry partners and individuals in some cases. And so I think there's some really interesting opportunities for collaboration if you bring in partners from those categories.
I just add as a small note that the difference between a regular research project for this program and an integrated project is in the congressional act that provided the funding for this. So it's very important that you correctly identify your eligibility before you submit to grants.gov, because this is in the law. So we won't even see it if it comes in a category that is ineligible based on Congress's rules. So please do double check this list here and work with your sponsored programs office to be sure all those forms go in with the right boxes checked.
Absolutely, and to be doubly clear here, I am not a representative of USDA, and even though we have one on the call here, she is not going to fact check all of my slides. And so you really do need to read the solicitation and reach out to your program director or program leader to get more information about the details. I wanted to just sort of very quickly highlight the program goals that this is focused on: data science in relation to a really broad range of food and agriculture activities. And so, you know, in our community in the Midwest, we do have folks who are very focused on academic research in the crop sciences, animal sciences, precision ag kind of space, but we also do have producers and food network, food supply chain people as well. And so this is a very interesting program in that it covers a lot of that breadth and depth of the entire food chain and food system in the US. So that's encouraging for folks who are interested in working with, you know, community-based food systems and other kinds of actors in that system who are not necessarily academic researchers focused on that kind of work. And there is an environmental element to this as well, climate change and other dimensions to that. So definitely encourage folks to look at this opportunity, even though you may not be in a traditional agricultural research kind of space. All right. I wanted to highlight some very helpful information within the DSFAS program website about the priority areas that USDA is interested in here. And so there's three sort of categories: data analysis versus data integration and connections, and then sort of application and human connections as well. And so again, this comes back to the program being very broad and very open to different kinds of activities that you may be interested in doing research on. I don't know, Anne, if you want to speak to any of this, but you know, there's a big data element to this. There's some AI, as you mentioned in your early slides. There's the FAIR principles that most of the agencies are really putting in their solicitations these days. So again, it's quite a broad reach that you have here.
Yep. So the emphasis here is on research. These are some of the areas, general areas of research that are priorities. There's also some additional details about AI priorities that are a little bit more specific. So there's lots of range for data science in this.
Absolutely. And, you know, I think we've talked on this call before that it's always helpful when agencies put specific language into their solicitations about what they're interested in supporting. And so if you're going outside of what they're listing here, it's probably a good idea to have that conversation with the program officer to make sure that you're still within scope of what they're focused on funding. All right, a couple of other quick highlights before we move on to discussion here. We have seen certainly at NSF and other agencies, including USDA, the idea of a data management plan being very important to the proposal. And that's clear in this solicitation as well, that that's a requirement and is really critical to being able to share the outcomes of this work with others in the community. I did note that there is a logic model requirement as well, which is not something that most agencies require, but it really is a great way to help specify the scope and the activities and the outcomes of your project. And so they have some good guidance on their website about what that program, what that activity looks like, and what they're expecting you to develop for a proposal as well.
The National Ag Library has extensive assistance and resources for developing data management plans. So we link to that in our solicitation, kind of in the depths of the PDF, but that's a great resource.
Absolutely, and I think at a lot of the larger R1 institutions, the research library folks have those kinds of services as well. And so, on your campus, you may want to explore research data management support for those kinds of activities. All right, so at this point, in our documentation for this webinar, we have some links to past awards that have been made throughout the Midwest and even beyond that are focused on data science and ag and the food system. And so we have some folks on the call here today that I've shown here that we'll hear from in a moment. But those of you who are watching later, feel free to explore that list, which we do every month for this series. And so you can see for past webinars and upcoming ones, you can see the awards that have been made in our region that are relevant to that program. So at this point, I want to pause our recording and encourage folks who are watching this later to join this call live in the future. We have a couple of upcoming sessions that are already scheduled next Next month, we have the NSF Career Program, which is for early career researchers. And then in April, we'll be looking at the NSF Smart and Connected Communities solicitation. So happy to have you join us for any of those discussions. And we look forward to talking with you either on the webinar or at other points about your interest in collaborations in the Midwest. So thank you all for watching. We're going to switch now to our discussion phase here.